I think, first I have to give you a religious bit, living in this environment in Egypt, we are also allowed as Christians to have our religious stuff, once in a while come back, So I actually believe that Egypt is blessed because, because of a religious story. Because when Maria had to take Jesus and escape, she could have gone to Syria, to Jordan, to Iraq, but she decided to come to Egypt. So I believe that Egypt is blessed. And actually what happened in this election of this new Pope was a total bless. The patriarch in charge, Pachomius, who managed this electoral, did a superb job. I don't know how, but it went like a piece of cake, very organized, very disciplined. He managed to eliminate some of the candidates which would have caused a big problem with the Muslim majority. He managed to eliminate candidates who were corrupt or were some of them wanted to inherit the Pope when he was alive. So he managed to do all that and do the right process. And with God's blessing, the guy that won, was actually one of his own pupils. Having met him, I can think that the new Pope will be great for Egypt because he has actually, from what he said till now, he has moved very clearly on the same path of Pope Shenouda, who managed to protect the Christian minority and to have a good relation with the governing bodies, and he was very loved by the Muslims before the Christians. So I think the new Pope will exactly move in that direction. I think he will have a tougher job because some of the extreme Islamist forces on the ground believe that the fact that we are governed by now a majority Muslim brotherhood gives them the right to, let's say, have some more leverage on the Copts or on the churches and so on. So the challenges, in my opinion, are going to be higher for him, and the stakes are going to be higher. But my feeling is he's going to be capable of solving that.
Are you aware of any channels of dialogue or mechanisms by which the senior Coptic leadership and, for example, either the Brotherhood or Al-Azhar are actually communicating?
The relation with the Azhar is much more is great. The Azhar and the Coptic Church have a united position. As far as the Muslim Brotherhood, I must say, and again, I hope my words there's no repercussions of what I'm going to say. I must say that they are doing exactly like the Mubarak regime. Mubarak used to go and get the most unknown, the most weakest Christians, one or two, and put them as decoration in any system. You would look for for years, the only Christian minister was a minister for environment. So my joke was always, don't we have a Muslim that understands in environmental issues? Are Christians specialized in the environment? Of course, there is and we don't see any change in that. Actually, the current government has only one Christian minister, and she's a lady, and she's doing, I think, if not environment, I think it's scientific research. So there's a kind of, they appointed a Christian guy, and they called him, he's the vice party president, a guy that nobody's heard of. And the guy appeared only when they appointed him. We've never seen him again, not even in a commercial, So there's a kind of feeling that, that like, this is something we just need to address like a decorator, but not from the substance, Till today, you don't have a single Christian that is a governor. When they tried to put a Christian governor in Minya, they immediately retracted from that nomination because some of the Salafis went and cut the railways in protest. We don't have any Christian who is a head of a university or a head of public. It's like unfortunate, because that also gives the feeling to the Egyptian Copts that they are not on equal grounds, I won't even speak about security agencies. And security agencies, there's no way that any Copt or Christian will be appointed in any security agency in Egypt. Is it the state security or the what we call the mukhabarat, or just it doesn't happen. And it's a waste because Christians are Egyptian. Copts love Egypt. They are patriotic Egyptian. and they would like to feel that they are treated equally.
One digression before the next question. There's a lot of ambassadors in the room, and I love them all, but there's two I want to recognize because we have a little club. One is Ambassador Margaret Scobie and Ambassador Nabil Fahmy. The Egyptian ambassador to the United States and the United States ambassador to Egypt, we have a little fellowship, so thank you very much for coming.
I want to add that I have one nice memory is when Ambassador Scobie called me immediately after Mr. Mubarak's speech, the last one. And she told me, "What do you think? Is it good?" I told her it was a disaster. It's finished with this. With this speech, we're done with. There is no hope, you know. And a few hours later, it was after the call, you know.
My name is My name is Samia Harris, and I'm an Egyptian-American activist. Mr. Sawiris, you are a very successful businessman. We are proud of you as an Egyptian entrepreneur. However, Egypt is very sick, and we all are accountable for that sick lady. What are you doing about helping the needy, the sick, and the old? And what is your role in developing Egypt today? Not when it stabilizes, but today, because it needs help today. Thank you.
I've always had a principle not to talk about what my family does in that segment, you know, and actually it's an area where my mother is in charge. And she has managed to extract, I would tell you, immense funds from all of us by decree, not by mutual concession, you know. But we have I don't want to do that because it goes to the extent of trying to brag or impress, but we have, I think, the largest NGO social institution in Egypt, or largest funded institution. It's in hundreds of millions have been paid. And this family, the Sawiris Foundation, does nothing but fund NGOs that prove that they're working in the area of job creation. And so they don't go actually and distribute money, but they examine NGOs who are very active, professional, and once they qualify them away from the Ministry of Social, I don't know what they call it, they fund these organizations, and we believe that this organization has provided tens and thousands of jobs. In addition to that, I personally did something on my own, which is a microfinance company, which has managed to create more than 45,000 jobs till now in less than 3 or 4 years. You know. But it's just not appropriate to come and say, well, we are doing this and doing that, you know. So.
Molly Williamson, and then in the middle here. Okay.
Thank you. My question is to both of you. How do you assess the health of the peace treaty relationship between Israel and Egypt today?
A short answer, it's dead.
It's alive.
It's dead and alive.
This is a region where you can be dead and then...
You know the joke about this guy goes to Jerusalem, his wife dies. So they told her, you can bury her here in Jerusalem for $100 or you take her to the States for $5,000. So he decides to take her to the States. So people tell him, are you crazy? He told him, no, I'm not crazy, but anybody who was buried in Jerusalem comes back to life, and I'm not going to take this risk.
I'm not touching that one.
I know.
Do you want to amplify a little bit on your concerns?
No, I want to say that right now there is nobody in Egypt that would venture into any escalation or any change of the situation with Israel. For the mere fact that, first of all, we have too many problems to look at. You know, we need to rebuild our country post this revolution. We don't need to initiate any animosity with anybody, and therefore, for the time being, my feeling is that there won't be any escalation. What the future will entail, maybe should not be in this kind of forum.
I would just add, there's no particular reason why the treaty would not be sustainable currently. My concern are the wild cards, the unintentional escalatory forces at play, including what's happening today in Gaza. The spiral of escalation that is likely to get much worse as a result of the targeted killing of the head of the Hamas military wing. The response is going to be a barrage of rockets. That will engender a response. At what point does this spill over into Sinai? At what point do Egyptian military and police forces become engaged? It could go out of control. It doesn't necessarily cut to the foundation of the treaty, but all of these issues erode the bilateral trust that had built up over the years, even if friendship had not built up. And it has to be a concern for the period ahead. Yeah. Let's take both questions then, since you're sitting next to each other. Okay.
Hi, my name is Dr. Asya Dawood, and I'm a professor at American University, and I've been living in Cairo for the past 2 years. I just came back in the end of May, and I feel very deeply connected to the situation that's going on there, and I'm very deeply concerned about the future of Egypt. I've spent more than half of my life in the country, and particularly with the prominence of the new Islamist government, there's been a misperception in the West in particular that the tradition of Islam in Egypt is very much in alignment or in accordance with political Islam, which is a very grave misperception. And particularly, I want to mention the Sufi tradition in Egypt and the work that the Coptics and other liberal groups in Egypt who are now trying to politically mobilize to unify themselves, that being the Sufis, the Coptics, and the other youth groups. Can you comment more on the work that you've been doing with these Sufi groups and these other liberal groups to politically mobilize to debunk this perception of the Islamist tradition which is believed or perceived now in the world as being the most dominant?